It's Monday morning. Good morning. Today we talk about Matthew 5:31 and 32 about divorce. It says, "It was also said, whoever divorces his wife, let him give her a certificate of divorce. But I say that everyone who divorces his wife, except on the grounds of sexual immorality, makes her commit adultery, and whoever marries a divorced woman commits adultery." In the Mosaic law, a man could divorce his wife more or less by telling her, "I'm divorcing you, go your way." The woman had no defense. The woman had no rights. A woman had nothing to fall back on unless she happened to be wealthy. So if her husband kicked her out, she was homeless and destitute. It's not a fair society at all, but it's the society that they lived in. And so divorce was fairly simple. Now the rabbis were concerned about this because some of the rabbis thought, well, wait a minute. Moses didn't mean you could do that just because she burned the dinner. Moses was looking at unfaithfulness, right? But that's not what he actually said. So Jesus sort of tightens that up. And then he says that anybody who gets involved with a divorced person is committing adultery, which is... I had a person come to me once and say, I was married before, and now we divorced, and I married again. I'm very happy, but I read this in the Bible, and I'm wondering, should I go and divorce my current partner and go back to my former one? And I said, well, do you know where he lives? And she said, no, somewhere in Pennsylvania, I think. And I said, who is that going to help? No, nobody. Nobody is going to benefit from you doing that. So don't think about that. And years later, she divorced that second husband, and he called me up and said, she said that you told her divorce was all right. So I explained to him what I've just told you and calmed him down. Divorce is never easy, of course, and one Sunday years ago, I read this passage, or one of the parallels in worship, read the passage and then went on to preach on another passage. And a woman came to me and said, there are too many divorced people. You can't just leave that hanging there. You've got to talk about it if you're going to read it in worship. So that's fair criticism, and I'll give you that. And we should be able to talk about these things in worship. But I see marriage as a promise. Two people make a promise. With good intentions, they make promises to each other. And being human beings, we do not always keep our promises. We are not always able to keep our promises, and so we fail sometimes. And when the failure gets bad enough, we're going to end up with a divorce. And the only thing to do there is to admit failure and say, yes, that didn't work, and go on with life. That's the way this was interpreted for us in a class in seminary, and I think it's the right view. I have a fairly high view of marriage, but I do recognize that, sometimes there are going to be these failures, and we should be able to simply admit that and move forward. So let's see it that way, and let's not judge each other over the circumstances of our lives, because none of us knows the whole story, the inside story of someone else's life and marriage. And let's not get into judging people, and let's not get into on the other hand, saying, well, if it doesn't work out, we can always get divorced, which a fellow said to me once in premarital counseling, and I looked at him and I looked at her, and she was looking at him in disbelief. And I said, you need to go home and talk about this, and then come back next week. And they did, and they went ahead and got married. But I don't know whatever happened to them. But you can't just say, well, if it doesn't work out, we'll get divorced. Like, if it doesn't work out, we'll get rid of it. We'll sell it. I'll buy a car. If I don't like it, I'll sell it. Okay. A marriage is not a car, folks. And that's something important to remember. And on that curious note, we will stop and see you tomorrow. Take care.